Hey, Kumar. Good morning.
Good morning, Veena.
How are you?
Yes, I'm doing very well. How are you keeping on?
Good as well. Thank you.
Ready for the exam now?
Oh, yeah.
That is next Friday exam is, no?
Next Friday, yeah.
Okay, right. Don't worry. You just get to, you will just relax and do the exam. It's all right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I sent you a couple of mocks yesterday, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Shall
Yeah.
we look at some of those things today?
Yeah, sure. We can,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So we will start off with the NEDs one first of all, because
Okay.
I want to see that question. I will start off with that one NEDs. But
Hmm.
before I go into the question, normally we see these in the recent past, the last 20-30 years, in the board of directors, we have some people called executive directors, some people
Yeah.
called non-executive directors.
Non-executive directors. Yeah.
What is the difference and why they do exist? That's number one, right? What's the difference
Okay.
between executive directors and the non-executive directors? What do you think,
Okay.
Veena? Yeah?
Executive directors are there for day-to-day operations of the business.
Okay.
And they basically belong to different kind of backgrounds.
Yeah.
And non-executive directors are not that active in the business, but they do have the say in the management. They belong to different fields, and because how do I say it? Because it is because that they do not dominate the board.
Okay.
That's why the proportion of both of them
Yeah.
is kept equal.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. It's something like that. Actually, when you say a board of directors in a company, both executive directors and non-executive directors form the entire board. So we are talking about what we call a unitary board where they coexist, and all of them are, according to the UK corporate governance model and many other models, they are collectively responsible for the long-term strategies of the company. True enough, but you said day to day, yes, day to day, the executive directors they are working, but both the executive directors and non-executive directors are collectively responsible for the development for the long-term strategies of the company. The difference is primarily the executive directors are remunerated. They are working inside the company on full-time basis. Non-executive directors, they do participate in board meetings and in various other committee meetings. They are not full-time employees. That's the difference. When you say finance director, he's a full-time employee of the company. When you are a non-executive director, you are not a full-time employee of the company. You attend the board meetings, but both are equally responsible for anything in the company. For example, the preparation of financial statement is the responsibility of the board of directors. You and I, being SEMA qualified, we will prepare, but the responsibility for the preparation is with the board of directors. And when you say board of directors, whether you are a non-executive director or executive director, you are equally responsible. You can't say, I came only for the board meetings, the finance director only prepared the financial statements, I don't anything. No, that's not acceptable. So when you become a director of a company, it's that. So executive director, they work inside the company. Non-executive director, they are not working inside the company, but they do attend the meetings and various other committee meetings. So that's basically. So actually what happens is there's a person called CEO. He and the executive directors are responsible for development of strategies. Strategies are long-term actions. But the non-executive directors, they challenge those strategies with the view to improve those strategies, and they will also give their ideas to develop and further improve the strategy. So initially the CEO and the executive directors will put the strategies, then the NEDs will give their input and, you know, it will get improved. That's the purpose.
Right.
And also, because they are the executive directors, obviously they have a good knowledge of the company because they are part and parcel 24/7 inside the company. So they can sort of, you know, dilute the impact of the non-executive directors because of they are too much of knowledge inside the company.
Right.
So to prevent that only, the corporate governance UK model says, and many other models says, that the majority director should be NEDs.
Yeah.
Majority director should be NEDs. Normally, the chairman should be a NED. Without counting him, the majority director should be NED. And one of the other principles is that we must have a separate chairman and a separate CEO, that one person should not hold both the positions. The reason being, again, what you said, that no one should dominate the company. So the CEO and the executive directors are primarily responsible for performance. They are the people who are selling, they are the people who are managing the finance function, they are the people who are procuring, they are the people who are managing the HR function. They are primarily responsible for performance. Non-executive directors, they don't have that kind of a responsibility, but they bring lots of outside experience about the industry, and they give that expert advice at the board meeting, and that's what their role is.
Right.
And for that to happen, the non-executive directors should be people who have fair amount of time to devote, people with lot of integrity, people with professional skills, knowledge and experience. Not necessarily they should be from the film industry, right? But they must bring lot of experience. You know what's happening in the environment, all that, so that he can be a banker, he can be a CIMA qualified accountant. That kind of a diversity in the board, that's the purpose. But when we sit as a board and take a decision, it's one decision, one collective decision. If you are not in agreement, you must show your dissent, get that recorded at the board meeting, otherwise you will be equally responsible.
Yeah. Okay.
Chairman only lead the board. Chairman is there to lead the board. He ensures that the non-executive directors are given the opportunity to speak about and all that kind of a thing. So he will control the board meeting. But CEO will run the day-to-day operations of the company along with the other executive directors.
Okay.
So in order to enhance the corporate governance further, there are mainly three committees: Audit Committee, Remuneration Committee, and Nomination Committee. Yeah, they are the three main committees. The Audit Committee is a big committee. They are responsible to ensure that the financial statements that is prepared are in conformity with the accounting standards, etc. They are responsible to ensure the independence of the external auditors. They are responsible to ensure the independence of the internal auditor. They sometimes facilitate the whistleblowing, and they are also responsible to ensure that the internal controls are working satisfactorily inside the company. And all that is basically, so for that purpose, the audit committee is basically all NEDs, minimum 3 people in the committee, audit committee, and one of those people should be a person with recent and relevant financial experience. That is a person like a CIMA qualified who knows the international accounting standards, IFRS, so that he will be able to contribute to a great extent by saying these financial statements are all right or not. Then we have the Remuneration Committee. Again, all NEDs, their main responsibility is to ensure that they put up a sort of certain set guidelines to decide on the remuneration of the executive directors and to decide on their performance bonuses, etc., etc. So the executive directors themselves will not participate in making their remuneration package, the NED's committee, remuneration committee, will recommend the remuneration for Veena, the remuneration for Kumar, being the executive directors. The NEDs will recommend, looking at Kumar's performance, Veena's performance, they will recommend the remuneration.
Right.
And the other committee, the nomination committee, that is to ensure there is a continuous sort of what we call succession plan. So if they know the finance director is going to retire, who is next in line, and to nominate that kind of a person, or if directors are not performing, to recommend the removal of the directors, to appoint a new director, the nomination committee will sit and decide. This is one committee. The majority will be NEDs, but you will have some of the executive directors also.
Right.
This is one committee where you have the executives and non-executives function.
Right.
Again, the non-executives will be the majority. Other two committees, 100% NEDs. This committee, the reason being, now for example, if finance director of your company retiring and if you are next in line, the best people who knows about your capability, temperament, ability to become the finance director will be the executive director. So because of that, they will recommend, okay, Veena is the best person to succeed. That's the reason why we have executive directors in that. And there's another committee called Risk Management Committee. In most of the companies, there will be a separate committee that can be both NEDs and EDs. There is no set fast rules saying it should be so and so, so and so. But if there is no risk committee, the audit committee will look after the risk management function also.
Okay.
So any performance-based bonuses, it is only for the executive directors. Non-executive directors are never paid any performance-based bonuses. Non-executive directors are remunerated by way of the number of committee meetings they attend, a set standard fee, a number of board meetings they attend, a set standard fee, predetermined, pre-decided. So they will work on that basis. So they are not entitled for any other thing.
Okay.
But for non-executive directors to function properly, once they are appointed, they must be properly inducted. Inducted means that he should be told what the company is doing, what is this company's, things, and where is this factory. That so they must be properly inducted. Otherwise, once they come to the board meeting, they can't effectively challenge or do anything because they don't know anything about it. I remember I was working for a particular company. I was appointed as the non-executive director. I went for the first meeting. They were talking about plant A, plant B, plant C. I was clueless. I didn't know anything and I could not contribute anything to that company. Later on, I came and told the chairman, I'm very sorry. I'm just, a passenger in that board meeting, just eating some refreshment. That's all I can do. Until and unless you all induct me, I cannot work. So that is the role of the chairman. Chairman must ensure that the non-executive directors are properly inducted so that they have a good overview picture. And also the chairman must ensure the board papers or whatever is given very much in advance to these NEDs so that they can read, study, and come back to the board meeting and talk about it. So these are mainly the roles that need to be carried out by the executive directors and non-executive directors.
Yeah.
That was just to give you a summary of the corporate governance and why it was so. Because actually why all this happened was, at certain times the companies start collapsing. And then what we realized was that the executive directors who are inside the company, they will dominate the proceedings. And generally there was a person called CEO and a chairman, one person. He was nominating, and ultimately the shareholders did not have any say and all lost their monies or whatever. Remember, all the directors are appointed by the shareholders.
Right?
All the NEDs, EDs, all appointed. Recommendations can come from the nomination committee. All remunerations are ultimately decided by the shareholders. It can come from the recommendation, can come from the remuneration committee. But the remuneration committee cannot be influenced by any of the executive directors under whatsoever. It's totally unethical.
Okay.
So let's look at what our Isabella is saying about here. So the non-executive directors have suggested that they would benefit from some formal training on the commercial background of operation. So that's what I said, because not that every non-executive director will come from the film industry background. And also, even if they are in the film industry background, not that they will know everything about the main team. So they must be given some kind of a training. They feel they'll be more effective if they have better understanding of the issues of the concern of the board. Alexi feels that the NEDs have been unwilling to, Alexi the chairman, unwilling to express a view on many issues because they do not understand enough about the decisions that have been taken. So this is the similar situation like I was saying. I did not understand anything what was happening, so I could not express any views inside the company. I would like you to prepare a briefing document that the non-executives can read, and then you can meet with the NEDs to discuss what you have said in the document. So this is your role, to prepare a briefing document and that they will read, and after that you will meet with the NEDs to discuss what is said in the document.
Okay.
A briefing document should cover two main issues. What are the principal risks that affect Mentee's ability to generate revenue? You should focus on the risks that are high impact and have a realistic probability of occurring. So remember, that is what we call risk assessment. Risk assessment is on the basis of the probability of it happening and the impact of it happening. Sometimes the probability may be low, impact may be high. Sometimes the probability may be high, impact may be low. If you look at little things like petty cash frauds, the probability of happening is fairly big, more. But the impact may be little because it's a $10, $5 kind of a thing. But if you look at a scenario like tsunami, what happened 2004, the probability of it happening was very, very low, but the impact of that was severe, causing thousands and 100,000 lives. Right? So that is how we measure the risk in a company. We look at the probability and the impact. Obviously, the probability and the impact are very high in both scores. That's the area you need lot of attention, or that's the area you may probably want to avoid. You remember the risk response strategies: transfer, avoid, reduce, accept.
Reduce and accept.
Yeah, TARA. Transfer, avoid, reduce, accept. So sometimes it might be so severe, the risk, you might think it's not worth taking the risk and going through with it. And if it is so, if you have to take it, then you have to put lot of controls and all that. Either you have to transfer the risk or reduce the risk, whatever. So generally what we do is, what we mean by transferring the risk is we share the risk. The most common way to share the risk is insurance. By taking insurance policy before we put the car on the road, that is what we do. Because we know the risk involved is the probability of it happening may be not that high, but the impact of the loss may be very high. You are not going to meet accidents every day, but if you meet with an accident, it can be a very severe one. That is why we try to transfer the risk. So that's what we do. And particularly, remember, I was talking about with the long-term finance, underwriting, the risk is that the entire share issue may not get subscribed. If you don't get subscribed, you don't have enough money. So to share the risk, you take an underwrite, paying the underwriting commission, and you take that one. So that's a way. Normally, how we reduce the risk is by putting up internal controls.
Right.
One of the risks always in the film industry will be what? To overrun the cost, to overrun the budget. So we put up a budget and we try to manage within the budget. One other risk in the film industry will be the delivery getting delayed. So we want to monitor the delivery dates, all that, and to see that it is working. So all the control functions are generally to reduce the risk. Certain risk we have to accept it. Certain risk we have to accept it. There's nothing that we can do about it. They are the low probability, low kind of impact. We will let it go as it is. We are not going to put too many controls. Let it go as it is. If it happens, okay, we will accept the risk, kind of a thing. Right?
Okay.
So they are now talking about the high impact and a realistic probability of it occurring, so fairly high risk. What are the major challenges associated with developing and implementing a management strategy for mentees? So this is the question. Now, before we start to answer the question, look at the body of the material was all about the NEDs. All about the NEDs, and NEDs asking. But look at what is your task. Task is all about the principal risk. You have to write a memo to the NEDs giving the principal risk. In other words, what your finance director is telling is, discuss the principal risk. And our training should be, he's not asking about the training program now here. Right?
Yeah.
Even though it was the heading was training, this was past paper question, it was all about the training and everything. And what happened to the student, she went on talking about the training and the corporate governance and all that. It is not what the question is.
Okay.
Not what the question is. Question is, idea behind is that we will talk about the main risk which has an impact upon whether being able to raise money or to generate revenue. And having discussed those risks, probably the training will be based on those areas. Right? Because I think the finance director and the CEO would have decided, because we can't give a training on all the areas, let's give a training on the areas that we require. What we require, their contribution is to see where our revenues will not get dropped. So any area, that's there. So you have to carefully read the question and answer the question, because if you read 90% of this little paper, it's all about the NEDs. But if you really, when you come to the task, it's all about your briefing should cover two main issues. We are not been even asked to talk about the NEDs. We have been asked to talk about our ability to generate revenue and focus on the high risk.
Okay.
So what I want is, I put this question deliberately for you, because even though it was about the NEDs, it's not about the NEDs finally when it comes for the answer. So we have to now think, okay, what are the principal risks that affects Maintain's ability to generate revenue? So remember, Maintain is our film company. What are the things that can have an impact upon our Maintain's ability to generate revenue? Look at the things that will have a major impact, not little things like little fraud, that fraud, this kind of a thing, but major impacts. Already we have gone through some of the marks. We saw some of the areas where it could have a major impact.
So I think reputation, any damage to reputation can impact the revenues.
Yeah.
Choosing the wrong film can have an impact.
Yeah.
Decision making, any problems in decision making, any cost overruns can have an impact as well.
Yeah. Yes. So look at something like this now. Yeah, what you said was correct, but now we have to sort of go on more elaboration. So as you said, the reputation is a very, very big important thing. Being the largest European film company, we are very much reliant on our reputation. So any wrong actions, any unethical actions, whatever, can harm our reputation and will prove to be very costly in terms of viewer acceptances, viewer audiences, and ultimately the revenue.
Right.
We saw that one in one of the earlier marks, people putting up articles about our wrong selection of the character and all that. So basically, we have to look at from the critical success factors. Then the other one will be, as you rightly said, selection of the wrong cast.
Right.
Not having the proper cast can be a very huge thing. Particularly, this is a country where the film actors are in various guild forums. So if you try to take out of that guild forums, or even in the guild forum, if you don't select the right kind of a people, here you can even quote the pre-scene and say that there are top 10 stars given, and if you have to see their attributes and select the right people without selecting the wrong people with immorality, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Right? Then also the film industry is essentially an entertaining industry, isn't it? It's entertainment.
Yeah.
So entertainment will depend to a great extent. Now the countries like Europe, I think they are very, very, how should I put it? They are very, very, pessimistic. Sometimes they can become a little bit over pessimistic on looking at the future. I remember a long time back, I went to some place, I think Australia or someplace, and the recession was far ahead, but they were already as if recession has started, and they were not not even wanting to buy clothing or do anything. They look at now, but maybe your experience, maybe my experience in our own countries, we generally don't take things so strongly. We just have the life going as it is on a present day-to-day basis, without thinking too far ahead of the all the dangers. That's the
Right.
Asian culture what we have. But the Western cultures, they can become, when they are now thinking when what Trump is going to do, what the British Prime Minister is going to do, all that kind of a thing. Here we are, apparently I think we are more, the Asian countries, maybe because of the way that we have been brought up, all sorts of problems we are there all the time. We don't take the problems too seriously and live with the problems. So to that extent, being a European country, the economic climate also will depend to a great extent about the success of the film industry.
Right.
Even they may not even go and watch a film when they know that the economy is going to collapse or something like that. For us, our countries almost all the day the economies are collapsing, and therefore we don't worry too much. We go and watch a film, we go and do whatever, and just live the day without thinking too much about the tomorrow. And memories are somewhat short in that sense. We don't worry that much. So European climate is such, it will be very much dependent on the economic climate being the entertainment industry.
Right.
So reputation. Then we discussed the staff in risk. Staff in risk is something what we discussed just now. It's all about getting the right cast into the film. And also right scripts. Right scripts. The film should be based on good stories with good morality. It should not be something, I think even I was reading something about some film that has come up and it is banned in Pakistan and some other countries. So, which can have a sort of a kind of a impact upon your religion, culture, all that kind of a thing. I was just reading something yesterday. I think the film is in Sri Lanka also, but they were talking about something that it is, directly in conflict with Islamic religion and all that. So people are very sensitive. People are very sensitive to whatever the religion. The people are very sensitive. I remember there were some films that come in about, certain things against Christianity, against Buddhism, all that kind of a thing. People are very sensitive and they may not patronize that kind of a film.
Okay.
So we have to be looking at all that. Then also another big strategic risk all the time we must talk about is ability to raise finances, Veena, in the film industry. This is a big risk. You remember this industry depends on third-party external investment to a great extent, and even our own financing. We can't do many more films even if there are top scripts and all the thing, because the finance can be a major restriction. And unlike any other industry here, the financing can be very, very risky for the investors, because the whole one-shot investment, right? And you get only one product. You are not going to get products on a monthly basis. You get one product, and that one product, if it is successful, all right. If that one product is a failure, you are really gone for it. So that's another risk that is there, all about the finance. So that can be a major, major risk.
Okay.
So these are some of the risks that can come up, which has a So I want you to know high impact, high probability. Right?
Right.
Because we could have gone on discussing hundreds of risks in this company, but that's not what we require. So with all our past marks, what we did, we realized some of those things. So this question probably could be answered in that way. But two things I want you to understand in this question. The 90% of the body was about NADs, but when it came to the answer, you will realize that you don't have anything to mention about NADs. Of course, you will start out. You will start off saying, I'm happy that the company has taken a decision to give a formal training to the NEDs, because it's very vital that they have a good training so that they can effectively contribute towards the strategies of the company. And with that in mind, I have based, and in accordance with what you have requested, I have listed out the main risk that can have ability to generate our revenue.
Right.
I'm using the word our revenue rather than saying maintain, because I'm part of the company. Right?
Okay.
And say that the risks what I have discussed here are the risks that can have a high impact and a realistic probability of it occurring. And just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Write little bit of a description. Why do you say so? Right. That is also important. Why do you say so? And all that. And that should be good enough.
Okay.
Second part is, what are the major challenges associated with developing and implementing a management strategy? Right now, what is a management strategy? Management strategy is basically the way to keep the management, because for a film industry, film company, we need the management staff, right? Management staff. So the strategy is to have right people in our management. That is what we call developing and implementing a management strategy. Like the financial strategy, we must have a good strategy for to get the right people into the management.
Right.
So what are the major challenges associated with developing a management strategy? So can you think of what are the major challenges that we have?
Major challenges associated with developing a management strategy.
It's all about having right management people inside our company on a long-term basis.
No.
What are the things that you must have? You imagine, forget about the film industry, look at your own company, right? To have the right people managing, because if you don't have the right people managing, your company will collapse. To have the right people kept in your company, what are the challenges that the board of directors face? To keep you inside the company, what is the challenge that they have? If you are not here, that's a challenge for the board of directors to retain you inside the company. You are a good person, right? You are a very heavy contributor to the company. Now, what is the challenge for the management to keep you inside the company all the time?
What I can think of is job satisfaction. Something kind of.
Yeah. One thing is the job satisfaction. Very correct. Job satisfaction. What about your remuneration, right? What about your remuneration? If you are not properly remunerated, why do we pay a remuneration for a person? To attract, to retain, and to motivate. These are the three reasons why we pay a remuneration for any person. To keep that person attracted to the job, to keep that person retained in the job, and to keep that person motivated in the job. And that is what you call job satisfaction.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a big challenge, because the film industry is a very, very competitive industry. If Veena is not properly paid and maintained, Veena will be called by hundreds of more people from the competitor film. And because you have a bigger challenge, because you are the number one company. So obviously your employees are the best people, or rather the presumed to be the best people. So you have a big demand in the market. If one of the competitors can take the Veena from number one company, that company can boast about we are taken from Benteen, the people. So Benteen being the largest European film industry company will have a big challenge to hire and retain the right people.
Right.
Right. So particularly when the market is doing very well, always it will be a tough task to keep the best people inside the company, because the other people will be looking, particularly the number one company's best staff. It not applies only to the management staff, it applies to the CEO. Right? If you look at most of the companies, they will want to take the best CEO, and maybe the Benteen CEO is the best person. So they will be looking all the time for that kind of a thing. So that can be a scenario that is going to be a kind of a thing. And also the other side of it is when if the company is going through a dull period, to retain the people once again. Right? You remember we were discussing something about in that one film about that they have been paid a bonus and they were not getting the bonus and they were disappointed all that.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Now that is a challenge. That's a challenge, right? Because there can be some problems in the film industry, and still you have to keep the people if you do, because the most of the actors and actresses will be on a profit sharing thing.
Right.
On a profit sharing thing. So that's another challenge that you might have on that one. Succession planning, including the board of directors, having a kind of a succession planning. Because the film industry is a continuous one, the challenge is to have people lined up to take over the position in the event of anyone leaving, or maybe retirement, or it could be death or anything like that. We have to have, so developing and promoting the best managers will be a big challenge.
Okay.
Right. Then the organizational structure itself, right? Here in this company, we were not given too much about the organizational structure. Yeah, if I remember, yes, there was nothing about the organizational structure. So having an organizational structure, because films are basically project-based.
Okay.
So if you are having an organizational structure based on functional structure, finance, HR, like that kind of a thing, it will be very, very difficult to coordinate the whole thing to a project. So ideally, it should be a matrix structure where you draw the resources from the functions and have a kind of a matrix structure.
Yeah.
Right? So that's another challenge that you might have in this organization. So these are some of the things that came into my head in this trying to work out an answer for this Benteen film industry. The challenges that we have in implementing a management strategy. Remember, management strategy is to ensure that we have proper management on the long term. So to pay highly attractive remuneration, or remuneration that is attractive enough to keep good people retained and motivated. So one of the ways most of the companies do is through a share executive option scheme, what we call ESOP, executive share options plan, a scheme that is basically for good employees. You offer them to buy, you give them the option to buy some shares in the company.
Right.
At a later date,
Right.
not today. When you join 2017, they say, okay, Veena, you work till 2020, you are entitled to buy 100,000 shares at a particular price, right? Predetermined price. So $6 or whatever it is fixed. If you work very hard, and if the company does well, and if the market price of the share on the day of the option exercise is $8, you have gained a big earning.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can buy at 6 a share which is worth 8. Of course, if the share has dropped, you will not buy it. But you have all the incentive to work very hard to get that share price going up. And also,
Right.
after 2 years, even if the competitor offers a job, you might not take that job because you know if you just leave now, you will lose that privilege or the blessing to get that big bonus. So you will wait for another 1 year. And in another
Right.
1 year's time, if the management is smart enough, they will introduce another share options. So that's the way
Okay.
that you keep these employees kept all the time. So this is what you should be looking as an answer on this question.
Okay.
And finally, you will probably say that, I'm prepared to, I have prepared this paper based on your thing. I'm willing to discuss with NEDs at any given time because that is what they want. Then you can meet with NEDs to discuss the said document. And I'm willing to meet the NEDs and discuss the document at whenever you want. Something like that. So that's it.
Right.
Okay. So that's one we have gone through. Now I want to look at another one. I want to look at acquisition. Right. Now, if you think of acquisitions, we see as I have been always telling, the key word for any company is the term called growth. Growth, growth. No company can survive in the society, in the environment, in the business world without growing. And that is why you will see almost every company at the annual report, the CEO, the chairman, they say, our target, our aim is to grow next year by so much, right? And we have grown by so much. No company will ever say, however big, however small, that their target is to reduce the revenue. Their target is to reduce the market share. However big, however small, always it is the growth that they are talking about. So the way to go forward with growth, there are two ways. One we call the organic growth model. Organic growth model means new products, new markets, new products, existing markets, existing products, existing markets, and new markets, existing products. That's what we call the growth, and that is what we call the famous Ansoff matrix.
Matrix, yeah.
Ansoff matrix. So that's a way to grow, and that was, I suppose, the way that 30, 40 years back, almost all the companies were growing. They will have their product maintained, for example, it's films, and maintained, for example, it's there in a country called B-Land or something like that. They will try to penetrate into the market more and more and more. Then the next step will be probably to take the maintained products to a new market, and the next stage will be to take to the same markets different products like television, films, or whatever it may be. And then the next stage will be to go into a totally new product, totally new markets.
Right.
Now the other way of expansion is through what we call acquisition and takeovers.
Yeah.
That's the other way to grow, and that's a more faster way. And today the world being so moving at such a rapid rate, most of the people find that, the old way of growing through organically is too slow, and therefore they go into the acquisition and takeover. Obviously, the growing organically is a more methodical method and more steadier way. But today, we have to sacrifice some of the steadiness to take some shortcuts and to go for it. Of course, it can succeed, it can collapse.
Yeah.
For that, what I did was I just have a couple of slides with you just to show the kind of mergers and what it is meant to be. One thing is what is called a merger and what is called an acquisition. Normally we use the term called merger for anything and everything. But generally merger means two companies get together, Maintain and some other company will get together, both will lose their own identity and they will have one new company coming up, and maybe say Maintain and some other film company join in, and they will have one new company called M&A or whatever it may be. That's what a That's what it's like. To the husband and wife joining together. Once they join, they lose their individual their individual names and they take a family name. The other one is what we call a acquisition, which is a rather unrefined term. Basically, a big company taking over a small company. You take control. That's what we do with the consolidation and all that. We take control of another company. So both the companies exist, but the ownership of the second company have got changed because some big company people have taken over the smaller company. And how do they take over? By buying the shares of the smaller company. So it can be what we call a friendly takeover. It can be what we call a hostile takeover. If the company takeover, the marriage is something like a arranged one, the smaller company people think it's good to join with the big company, and the big company people discuss, and then if it happens in that kind of a mutually agreed terms or whatever it may be, that's what we call a friendly takeover. But it can happen, like in most of the Western countries it happens, it can be a very hostile takeover. The big company offers to the smaller company shareholders a big attractive price for their shares and buy the company, and then tomorrow morning you have bought the company, you are the major controlling partner, controlling shareholder. You can tomorrow morning come back and send all the directors out of the smaller company, send all the management out of the company, and you take over and run the company. That's what we call a hostile takeover. So either way it can happen. So this is what happens. So why when they merge, what happens is the two identities are submerged and a new entity will come. Example, I remember Standard Chartered Bank and Greenlace, they joined together and it was called Greenlace Standard Chartered or Standard Chartered Greenlace. Now the Greenlace is completely gone and it's now Standard Chartered only. Right? So it was one, but most of the other companies you see, Standard Chartered also will remain, Greenlace also will remain, but Standard Chartered will be the controlling company of Greenlace. Two separate companies exist. It's only the ownership that has got changed in the small company. So generally the term merge is used. It's a more kind of a refined term. And there are a couple of ways that we go through acquisition. One is what we call a horizontal integration. Same industry, Mentin is in the film industry. Mentin is the number one company. Maybe there's another number two company which is almost having a good market share. If Mentin can merge or acquire, then you get rid of a competitor. You become a very big giant.
Right.
So that's what we call a horizontal integration. So that way, what we do is basically you join with a similar company in the same industry and you become a very big one. So you can keep all the other smaller companies under your control. Control in the sense you can dominate the industry. Then we have what we call vertical integration. Now we are in the film industry. We need for the film industry support things like what? We need what else we need? We need, for example, the special effects. Special effects. There may be a company that is doing special effects, right?
Yeah.
Remember we discussed in a company called Jonathan's or something, doing special effects. So we can, if we can take over that company, if we can take a controlling interest of that company, then we have a control over Jonathan's. That's what we call backward vertical integration. You look, before coming to the film production, I need the special effect. So the special effects company is not supporting me, he is supporting all the other people. So I take over company. When I take over company, I can appoint my directors and I can tell, hey, you do our films first. You do our films according to the way we want. We have a control over them. The other side is you have done a film. Now to get the maximum benefit out of the film, what do you need to require? You need film halls.
Yeah, cinema chains.
Yeah, film halls. Film halls you need, cinemas. So you buy a company which has cinemas. That's what we
Right.
call forward vertical integration. To sell your
Right.
product, you need something. So you buy a series of cinema halls. So you are sure once the film is produced, you have your own cinemas to run the film to. So that's what we call vertical integration. Then of course,
Yeah.
finally we go for what we call conglomerate, or what we earlier called it diversification. You are in the film industry, you move into a totally a new industry, like television industry, like
Television
music
industry.
industry,
Yeah.
right? So that is the theory of don't put all your eggs in one basket. You move into another thing. That is how all these conglomerates have come. They are in different areas of activity. So if one activity fails, they have another activity which they will carry.
Yeah.
These are the possible three ways: horizontal, vertical, conglomerate. Why do we acquire, why do we have mergers? To increase the market share and the power. I'm the biggest company. I see my number two becoming a threat. I take over that company. So I remove that person. Or I see I'm having a 40% share. The number two company is having a 20% share or 25%. Number three company is having a 10% share. I go and take the 10% company. So now 40 plus 10, I have 50. I can keep the number two very much under control.
Right.
Economies of scale, right? Economies of scale. Even here, if they can buy more companies and if they can merge, if they can do many more films at the same time, they probably will be in a bargaining power even with the actors. Because the actors will know, the main cast will know, either they have to go with Mentine, because the Mentine is the big giant. If Mentine says no to you, Stan has no place to stand. Understand? Right? So that's what we call economies of scale. Even computer imagery, special effects, all that. Combining complementary needs, as I said, the films need the film halls, so a complementary need. Film needs special effects, a complementary need. Improving efficiency, right? Improving efficiency. You might have best production, but you might not have the best kind of distribution or advertising. So that's another area. You can join with an advertising company because you spend a lot of money on advertising. Another one, you may be, one of the reasons is that you have lot of money inside the company. Now having lot of money inside your company, Mentine we don't have that one, but having lot of money inside a company is a very, very dangerous thing. When you have money, you are attracted for a takeover. It's like one of the rich girls who is having lot of money. She's definitely on demand for a takeover by another person. So similarly, you have to be very, very careful in any company management not to have lot of surplus cash. Surplus cash either must be invested or surplus cash must be returned. Don't keep surplus cash. That's a way to attract the other people. There are a lot of firms who do not have money. They are struggling to find money. Here we find a company who is having a lot of money. I take over that company. By issuing shares, I take over that company without going for a bank and without going for public issues, rights issues. I have money. So this is another good thing for you to know. When you are looking for long-term finance, look for a company for a takeover which has lot of excess cash.
Okay.
Lot of cash. You buy the company by not paying cash. You buy the company by issuing your shares to their shareholders. So you don't spend money to buy the company. You give your shares to their shareholders and buy the company. Immediately, you have a pot of cash sitting on you.
Okay.
Tax relief. Tax relief. You might find in UK, for example, they give what we call group tax relief. You might have a big tax to pay. You might find another company which has tax losses. You can take that company, set off their losses against your profit, and finally, you pay less taxes.
Okay.
Obviously reduce competition, right? When you buy a company, you reduce you knock out your competitor, he becomes part of you. Asset stripping. You might take another filmmaking company and you don't need all the two studios. So you can sell one of the studios and you can realize some money. That is what we call asset stripping. You may be able to sell some of the cameras and get some money. And also the big data opportunity. Big data is all about using things like Google and all that to get a lot of unstructured data which cannot be normally stored in your own computer. But you might find another company who is very, very good on big data. Take over that company, you get access to big data. These are the reasons basically why we merge. But there are two reasons why the kind of questionable reasons for mergers. Most of the time the people say they merge, the companies say they merge to diversify. This is what we were talking about, the conglomerate. But there's an argument against that one. You remember the shareholders, they can diversify. You being a shareholder, you don't put all the shares in the film industry. You can put your money in film industry. You can put your money in television industry. You can put your money in garments industry. So the shareholder can diversify. So the idea is, why should the company directors try to do that job for the shareholder? Let the shareholder do that one. Shareholder has the freedom to invest wherever he wants. Let the companies focus on the areas where they are the experts.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's the argument. And sometimes, most of the time, when you buy a company, the chairman or the CEO will say, "We bought the company because it came at a bargain price for us. We bought it at a bargain price." So if the shares are listed in the market, right? If the shares are listed in the market of the other company, when you say that you have bought it at a bargain price, obviously you have to pay the market price and buy the shares. When you say that you have bought it at a bargain, what you are trying to say is basically that market, the price what the market said we believe is undervalued, or it's a bargain, we bought it. So in other words, what you are trying to say is the market does not know the price, you know the price better than the market.
Okay.
Right? Because the market means it's the price that the buyers and the sellers, the willing price to do the transaction. So the moment when you say we have bought the shares at a bargain, we are trying to simply say the market is that, we know the market better than the market, kind of a thing. So these are some questionable reasons that is there.
Yeah.
Always they say if you are going for acquisition or a merger, you know this term synergy. Synergy is 1 plus 1 is not 2, but something bigger than 2. The market value of company A and the market value of company B, when they are merged, will be much more than A and B together. That's what we call synergy. What is synergy?
Yep.
Synergy is simply as one company or two companies sitting separately, what they cannot achieve, but when they get together, what they can achieve. For example, you might find two film companies, one company having a good camera system, second company is also having a good camera system, right? The moment they join together, so long as they are independent, they have to have both their sets of cameras. But the moment they join together, they can sell one set of cameras. So long as they are independent, they can't. So that's what we call synergy, right? That's what we call synergy. Synergy is something which you can't achieve by yourself, but by joining together, what you can achieve. So synergy is not this is a very misleading thing. Most of the companies, they go for merger thinking about synergy, and later they realize they don't have any synergy coming up. So synergy is something which you have to be very, very carefully worked out. Now, most of the time it may be the two big companies have two CEOs. If you merge, you don't need two CEOs, you can get rid of one CEO.
Right.
And you save a lot of money, right? You can save one CEO salary completely. So to do that one, Now, most of the time they do it, and then after that they realize, no, you need both the fellows, because neither fellow is willing to get out. So in that case, you have not got the synergy, you have got additional expenditure. So synergy is not automatic, it must be earned, it must be worked out. So we have to find out, whenever there's a merger question coming up, one of the things that you will want to know is how will the synergy be achieved. Examiner may not talk about it, but you must talk about how will the synergy be achieved. So what are the sources of synergy? Operating economies. Now, both two companies, film industry, you can join and you might find certain elimination of inefficiency. In your company, there are certain areas which are not working well. In the other company, there are certain areas you can remove all that, and that is what we call synergy. Financial synergy. Now, Mentine is one of the largest companies. But if Mentine joins with another large company, number 2 or number 3, they become a very, very strong company. And even the banks, you may be able to better bargain with the bank, saying, hey, if you all don't give me money, you have no place to go and give money in the film industry, because we are the big company. So that's what we call financial synergy. We can better negotiate terms when we are big. So a smaller company becoming big through a merger can get some kind of a financial synergy. Market power, surely we are the number 1 film industry, and get in with another one and get a big power, we surely, people have no other option. They have to watch our films, right? Because we are the only film company maybe in Beelan who can produce films.
Right.
So basically, for the main shareholders or the main team, for example, the moment they merge, the synergy, that is 1 + 1 is more than 2, that extra benefit comes to the acquiring company or the big company, and that's a big benefit for the shareholder. And also, to buy the small company, you have to pay something more than the market price. If it's a listed company you're buying, say the shares are going at $7 per share in the smaller company. If you want to buy 10,000 shares, you will tell your stockbroker, hey, I want to buy in that small company 10,000 shares. At the 7, he can buy it. But if you want to buy a controlling interest of that company, right, more than 50% interest if you want to buy, you may not be able to buy it at 7. Because shareholders know Veena is searching and that the shares of that company is in big demand. Veena wants to buy all the shares. So they will obviously increase the price.
Right.
So you have to pay a bigger premium, rather what we call a premium, more than the 7 you have to pay. And that's a benefit for the smaller company shareholders. Normally they would have been selling at 7, but because now a big company is interested in buying, they can sell it at more than 7, maybe 8 or something like that. Generally about 20% premium you must apply. Sometimes whenever you take over a company, you have to be very mindful. The smaller company, for example, they would have taken some bank borrowings. And the lender might say, so long as Veena is managing that company, we are prepared to give the loan. But if Veena is going to sell the company to Kumar, all the loans must be settled.
Yeah.
So the acquisition company will not only have to find money to pay the shareholders, but will need to have money to pay the loans. Now this can be a question in the merger in Mentine. Mentine may want to buy a company, and to buy the shares, they may have to pay $6 million. But the condition is they have $2 million worth of loans. That $2 million worth of loans also should be settled, because the lenders of the other company are not prepared to lend to Mentine or to lend to the Mentine subsidiary. So you have to find 6 million plus 2 million, and that is a challenge for Mentine now. You have to renew finance. Managers, of the staff of the target company, the smaller company, may feel that, you know, they will be suppressed. The way that they were managed by the earlier management may not be happening. All sorts of things can come up. But on the other hand, for the maintain people, it may be an opportunity, because maintain, so long as it's one maintain, the people will have to wait till Veena being the finance manager, will have to wait till Isabel retires to become the finance director. But the moment maintain takes over another company, there's an opportunity straight away across for Veena to go to that company and become the finance director of that company.
Yeah.
So there will be a lot of opportunities available, but for the smaller company, it may be a kind of a fear that they will become redundant, that they will lose their jobs and all that. So these are some of the tasks that management need to manage in a takeover. And the government is also very, very focused. They don't want too much of power with one particular party or two particular parties, because that can be very much detriment to the society.
Right.
Finally, let's look at what are the problems with mergers. Not that every merger becomes a successful, right? Synergy is not something that can just automatically arrive. There can be many problems, and particularly that can happen. The management of the two staffs may not work well eye to eye, and that can be a problem. Now, in the mock that I have sent you, it's about we joining with another company called Hero, which is they are basically on the TV production, TV reality production. And the two teams, maybe because we are in the film industry, they are in the television industry, and they may not be able to work together to get the synergy release. In fact, there may not be any synergy in this particular acquisition that we are looking at, right? Because they are in the two totally unrelated fields.
Okay.
So sometimes you are so stubborn. There's another mock I have sent to you about a land acquisition. We can see in that one the whole purpose and the intention, not that we want that land, but we want to take that our competitors adjoining land. And sometimes in business, this kind of crazy thing happens. We become very arrogant, very stubborn, and we just want to, for the sake of buying, we want to buy it. And, you know, it's not that, so we offer something much more than the market price. Because I know, I'm interested in buying that company. I know Veena is offering 40 million. I go and offer 45. Then Veena offers 50 million. And we are so competing and competing. Finally, I might pay 65 million and buy the asset just to knock off Veena. And ultimately, I see I have paid a huge figure, which is irrecoverable. I paid too much as a premium to buy the company. So these are some of the issues we might have it, and cultural clashes can make integration difficult. If you remember that the mock that I sent you, we are 150 kilometers away, the maintain and the Hiru or whatever. And we can see in that kind of a scenario, sometimes, you know, there can be, because we are just 150 kilometers away, they will see that our maintain fellows are getting bonuses, all that, and they are not getting anything, or they are getting something and our fellows are not getting. They can see it. 150 kilometers is not that far away. They will get all the messages, all the thing, and there can be a lot of cultural clashes. Every time, whenever there is something happening in the other company, these people also want the same benefit. So these are things that what happens. You know, it's something like a marriage. We know in marriages, when two families get together from two different cultures, there can be a lot of cultural issues which we need to slowly iron it out. So opportunity cost could be very high. By buying Hero, for example, in this particular case, we might lose the opportunity with our money, something better we could have done.
Yeah.
So because we have to sacrifice something else when we do something else, so that sacrifice may be something very big. So these are some of the things which I want to pick it up. I will send you these slides, and now what you can do is, all I have discussed a little bit on this one, so you can think of, we will discuss this Hiru case, but you can think of some of the issues and try to write something on your lines now. Because this may be the type of question that you get it. Just start writing, and I think we are meeting on Wednesday, no? Is it?
Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah, Wednesday when we meet, we will look at some of these other areas also.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Wednesday we are meeting at
Wednesday
11 or what time?
11. Yeah, 11. That's correct.
10:30.
11. Wait, just a minute.
Okay.
Just a minute. I think Wednesday, I think maybe a little early.
I guess you told
Yeah,
10:30.
Yeah, 10. That's correct. 10:30. Sorry, 10:30. Yes.
Yeah.
Is it all right? 10:30?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine by me as well.
Right. So yeah, I have the church at so I can make it 10:30. No problem. So we will meet at 10:30. Anyway, today is Saturday, so Sunday, Monday, Tuesday you have. During this time, any areas, any problems you have, just send me a mail and we will try to work it through.
Sure. Okay.
Thanks, Veena. So I'll see you on Wednesday, 10:30.
Sure, Kumar. Thank you so much. Thank you. Take care. Bye. Bye.